see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboys fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face.
Oh, I'm from Brooklyn.
Hey, get us any.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock. Jingle
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Northeast Professional Sports. I'm your host, Mac, with your co-host right now, Sonia Pearson, who has her own show on tonight, and that should be exciting, about 9 o'clock. We also have Jim Jeffcoat will be coming in to represent the Dallas Cowboys and the Buffalo Bills. We'll have in CJ, who will be representing the New York Jets. And guys, good evening to Anissa Jones. Am I saying it right?
That's Anissa Jones. That's my
Anissa
sister. Hey,
All right.
Anissa.
Good evening, Anissa. Glad to have you aboard. So, we every week we normally have, and right away me and her are getting a little longer. She likes the Cowboys, I guess. So no, I'm just kidding with you.
Loves them. Loves them.
There's nothing wrong with that. We're going to be talking about them, of course, a lot. And Sonia, we don't have an Eagles representative in this week, and we were talking before the show. The Philly sports guy Paz comes in every week. He supposedly has a Christmas party he has to go to. So okay, we'll give him a pass. And I said, well, I know we got a couple other Cowboy hosts out there that host some of the shows here on Northeast Streaming Sports. Key Williams, who's been on the Big Football Sunday show with us. So I asked her to come in, and she said sure. And then all of a sudden, the last minute, she kind of changed her mind. And I even went out and asked the NFL genius, Gene. He came in on the Sunday Big Football Show, another big Eagles fan, and he's got a show tonight. He's got to do. I get it. I understand. But I gave him the option of leaving early. So it's not like I said he had to stay the whole show. Now, it's really interesting to see, Eagle fans and Cowboy fans this week. And I love it being a Giants fan. I'm a big Giants fan, been all my life. And it seems like the Eagles talk too fast and the Cowboys talk too fast about the other team because, they ended up both losing their games too. So right now the NFC East is wide open, Sonia.
Well, I don't know about wide open because there is some game disparity, but I have to wish you the best of luck. Eagles, Cowboys, the biggest rivalry, that the most competitive in that division right now. They both took an L. Jalen Hurts was sick, suffering from some type of virus. They didn't specify what. Since Saturday, flew separately from the team to face Geno Smith and company. And Geno Smith did not play. Mr. Locke played and still got it done. Now, Jalen did run for that first touchdown on his own, and it looked promising, but I'm sure that virus caught up with him because his engine slowed down really fast. So Cowboys were antagonized by Eagles fans in their loss, and now vice versa. So
right,
it's just how it goes.
Okay, so let's give Dak a pass. We'll say that he still went out there, he gave it his best, but that's not an excuse for the Eagles defense. Nobody that I know of traveled in a separate plane and took a separate bus in. They were supposed to be good and ready to go. Yet Seattle under lock, as you said, came back at the end. The wide receiver, I forget his name right now, but he burns Bradbury, runs up on him, goes around him. And Locke hits him for the touchdown pass, I think, with 30 seconds left. Bill Parcells, my favorite coach of all time, says you are what your record says you are, right? So they're both, I think it's 10-4 now. They're both tied for first place. And, either one of them could win the NFC East. Dallas got to go play Miami, and their schedule is a little tougher. The Eagles got to go play the Giants twice, and I'm trying to remember. I think it's the Commanders, if I'm not mistaken. And listen, the Eagles don't look good, and who's to say that the Giants or the Commanders can't beat them?
I don't know. So that's been kind of like the caveat of the entire season. They come out red hot. You're like, hey, those are the Eagles that went to the Super Bowl, and this is a repeat team, and they're going back. Same with the Kansas City Chiefs. They look the same, but as the season wore on, they were exposed by other teams. I guess their playbooks are out there somewhere, Mac, because clearly other teams are on to both of them. They don't look like Super Bowl caliber teams. It looks like it's anybody's opening at this point, including if the Giants win a couple of more. You guys could definitely be in the running for that position. And I don't even want to say this time it's because Jalen was sick. He's taken an L before. For what reason was that? Dak looking like not the Dak we recognize, but he's in MVP talks. And then now he's not. And Cowboys fans are just like, there he is. There's the Dak we recognize. There's the Dak we're used to. Please get rid of him. And I'm just like, hey, whoa, Cowboys fans. You know, he was Jesus a couple of weeks ago, and he's gotten you guys those wins. All of them were not pretty, but it's still way better than some other teams, including my own personal team, which got the win over the Falcons. So I'm happy about that. If no other game we win, the Atlanta Falcons, since I live here in Atlanta, I'll take that dub.
well, we'll get to the Panthers in a little bit, but let's finish up with the Eagles. Herm Edwards, who not only played for the Eagles, I don't know if you remember the famous fumble in Jersey where he picked up the ball on the last play of the game and ran it back for a touchdown. He was an Eagles coach. He was a Jets coach. He was a Chiefs coach. He said, maybe it's time for a players only meeting, get the coaches out of there and just kind of get together and air out some problems they think they're having. Of course, Hurts came out and said they're not all committed. And
exactly. That was my next thought.
Yeah. But when you throw the 2 interceptions in the second half, I don't know if you should be calling out your team on national TV.
I think he was acting as if he was kind of medicated. I don't know if you paid attention or if anyone noticed, he was kind of stammering a little bit, and they kind of like repeated the question like for clarification purposes, and he just kind of got tongue-tied in there. Like I said, I don't know if he was medicated or not from him being ill or whatever, but he was quoted as talking about the execution of the team. He said he's been talking about the execution the entire season, making sure everyone was on the same page, and that after Monday's loss, he's just saying they simply did not execute. They just got to turn it around, quote unquote. It's a challenge that we have to embrace, just continue to see it through. But honestly, as a non-Eagles fan, this is like a replay. It's literally like they're just putting a cassette on and press and rewind. And this has all been said before. He's 25 years old, a quarterback. And he's, been being pretty honest as the leader of that team. But I'm not sure if it's just the offense's responsibility. I know you have to stop the other team from scoring. So as Fletcher Cox, he didn't look like himself on the defense. Like you said, Bradbury got burned. That was a huge burn by Bradbury. I think, honestly, that changed the game right there, especially with it being so close, that Bradbury call was what cost them the game. Yeah.
I mean, listen, the Eagles they've played probably the toughest schedule, beat some of the toughest teams. I still think that they're a Super Bowl contender. I would have to say San Fran has got to be the number one contender in the NFC right now. And with the weapons they have and the defense they have. Good evening to Rick. Glad you could make it in tonight, Rick. And there's also something going around saying that maybe it's the Big Dom curse. He hasn't been on the sideline for 3 games.
But he was in the booth, Mac. I saw him at the booth. I thought he was banned from the games altogether. I saw him up in the booth.
Yeah, it's just from the sideline, Sonia. So that's why he was up there. But they didn't seem too happy he was there. But anyway, Carlos brings up a good point. Good evening, Carlos. Glad to have you there. They tried to go for the touchdown. Hurts tries to throw for the touchdown and got intercepted instead of just going for the field goal. They had a chance to tie the game if he threw it underneath. maybe did a quarterback draw, whatever, but getting field goal range. They got a good kicker there, and instead tried to go for the whole thing. And Julian Love comes up with his second interception of the game and kind of put the kibosh to it.
Yeah, he definitely solidified that. That was literally, as they say, the nail in the coffin. And I think that honestly, though, Mac, people have underestimated Seattle. They counted him out once Geno went down. Even before he went down, they were like, "Hey, Geno's not, he's not Jalen Hurts. He's not this. He's not that. He's just okay." And then you're talking about Pete Carroll, who's been on and off the hot seat for the last couple of seasons. Gum chewing Pete, the freshest breath in the NFL. And so, yes, he's always so cool. And he's actually, if I'm not mistaken, the oldest coach in the league as well. Very well respected, always pretty calm, except for when he needs to be, a firecracker. He gets where he needs to get. But they counted him out. And so bringing in Locke, it was kind of like, I think that Eagles fans and maybe even some of us who were thinking they're going to win kind of got overconfident, like, oh, it's Locke and it's the Eagles. Like, this is going to be a blowout. Right. So the joke was, the egg was on everyone else's face because that clearly was not what happened.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it was probably one of the better games of the weekend. Seattle is, just by their record and just why they were last year, they're going to come to play, especially when you're playing a team that was in the Super Bowl. And, I knew it was going to be a good game. I didn't know Locke because he hadn't played in so long. He was, I think, a second round draft pick, which is still pretty high. I think he was with the Broncos, I think it was the Broncos, if I'm not mistaken. And then he ends up over in Seattle, and he comes in and he plays a good game. So let's bring in Jim Jeffcoat, who comes in every week to represent the Dallas Cowboys and the Buffalo Bills. Good evening, Jim. How you doing today?
Hi,
Good
Jim.
evening. Good evening, Sonia.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Great.
Good evening, Mac. I didn't appreciate that little meme you put up.
What's that, Jim?
About the pickup truck.
Well, Jim, I love to get it swirling. Since Jack's not with me at nighttime, somebody's got to stir the pot. So, that's my job on this show anyway. So, we were just talking about the Eagles and, them not going for a field goal, the Big Dom curse. I mean, I've heard a lot of different things coming out there, why they're losing. And me and Sonia just think, hey, maybe the Seattle Seahawks were just a better team for this game, Jim.
What would happen is, first of all, Pete Carroll has never lost as a Seattle's coach to the Eagles. And the Eagles are 0-3 in Seattle. And I know you guys don't believe this. I mentioned this. Philadelphia is playing at 10:15 at night. Could you imagine what that's doing to your body? You would say, oh, basketball players do it all the time, but football players don't do that. And it affects you. It really does.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about, of course, Hurts was a little sick too and all that. The defense is what lost the game again, Jim. At the end of the game, the last few weeks, that's what it's been. If you can stay with the Eagles to the end of the game and the defense kind of wears out, I don't know if it's because they're older. I don't know. It's because, Slay was out. That's another big reason. I mean, Slay is a better cover guy, I think, than Bradbury. But
yes,
I mean, it is
catching up with them, and that's the difficult thing. And like I've said before, is when you're have been to the Super Bowl, teams look at you different. They want to beat you. They want to make sure that they play their best game, so they can say that they beat a Super Bowl team, and not a winner, but they were in the Super Bowl.
And almost won that game too, if it wasn't for the fumble.
Almost.
And then the Seahawks won without Jamal Adams, who they're trying to get him to come back. Jamal Adams, they don't know if he's going to be ready to come back, but they're waiting for him to try to come back to play against the Titans coming up. So they didn't even have all their key players.
He was healthy. He was healthy and active. That's why he didn't come to the stadium. So there's something else going on. He's having that brouhaha with the reporter and everything, and there's something else going on.
There is, and you know that the Jets were smart to get rid of him. I think that's a kind of a me guy. Julian Love filled in great for him, so you know they're not hurting with him not being there. So,
former Giant, that's why you like him.
Well, listen, 2 interceptions, Jim. We got to give it to him, man. Right?
Yes.
So,
yes, he played.
so, anyways, so to me right now, it's Dallas again and the Eagles for first place in the NFC East, and the Eagles. Dallas playing Miami. Let's see if Dallas can go away from Texas and win a game, and it's going to be tough stopping that high flying offense. But Dallas, their defense has got to come to play, Jim, this week.
Yeah, they can't let them run the ball, and there's no excuse for what happened. They ran the ball, it's ran the same right off tackle for him, and I don't think so, Rick. Rick asked would they deploy. I think they like that coach. He's been to the playoffs 3 years in a row, and McCartney, and they have had success. They just got to figure out how to win on the road, and it's a little different because you always bring your defense and your running game on the road, and you have to be successful, and that's what they have to learn. You can't throw the ball around because you can't do all the things that you can do at home.
Yeah, I mean,
Mike McCarthy mentioned it as a road gap. They are 3-4 on the road, and Mike McCarthy was like, "Hey, it's a huge gap because we're good in North Texas, and then when we leave, it's like it's a struggle." So I don't know. I don't see them beating Miami.
You don't see it?
Not with a healthy Tua and A-Chain and all that, and Tyreek Hill. Oh no,
they'll beat them.
Don't see it.
They'll beat them. You know why they'll beat them? It's a gimmick offense. And if
we'll see.
But when they play against teams that can play defense, they struggle. If you know,
right? That's true.
Yeah.
Well, they do have an all-pro defensive back there. Miami's got a decent. I mean, a good defense is not a Buffalo Bill defense or a Philadelphia Eagle used to be defense, or even a Dallas Cowboy defense. I think it's going to be a great game. I don't know who's going to win.
It's going to be a great game.
Yeah.
But we have struggled against teams that are as explosive as them. And Rick asked, was it the weather? The weather really didn't have anything to do. Buffalo just will play bully ball. They punch them in the mouth, and sometimes when you taste your own blood, some guys, they don't want that. And they have those in the scheme they play, they have smaller safeties playing linebacker. And they got those safeties up to the linebackers, and it destroyed the basically what they were trying to accomplish.
You see, Carlos brings up a point that I was going to make, the running game. They got rid of Zeke. And, they thought Zeke was pretty much all done. He was too old. He goes over. He's playing great with the Patriots with a bad offensive line over there. In somebody like Zeke, I mean, I know they picked up the guy from Tampa Bay. I haven't seen him play that much this year, if not at all.
He's going to be active this week, I think.
Is he? All right. So
right.
They need that power back, Jim. They do.
It's all they do need a bigger back. And Pollard actually has been getting better each game. But he's not, a guy that's going to carry.
Right, and he's not a guy that's going to run out the clock at the end of the game for you either, like picking up 3.5 yards per.
That's why they use Rico Dow, the kid from Florida. That's who they, so. But, hey, it's one game, like everything else. Everybody thought that there was going to be one team that would run away with it. Every team has had their issues. Except Carolina, they won.
Well, I keep promising Sonia we're going to get to that because there's really not a lot of highlights from that game, being totally honest with you.
No, it wasn't.
But we'll talk about the one highlight because it's only going to take about 30 seconds. So let's talk a little.
Just because of the proximity of my team, because we're from the NFC South, you guys and y'all in the NFC East or whatever. I still need that spotlight.
Are they still playing football in the NFC South? I didn't know.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are, Jim.
That's what's up. Well, if it wasn't for Tampa Bay, we wouldn't know that. But Jim,
they're not even 500. Well, they just hit 500.
Yes, they did.
Listen, I know. See, the 49ers are class of the league. They're going to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And
No, you don't say that.
Yeah.
Don't say that.
Well, I'm
because
going to say it.
Oh,
I'm gonna
that's
say it.
big.
Well, here's the thing with the 49ers. Yes, right now they are, but so are Javon Kinlaw's out hurt, and their other big tackle is hurt inside. They're getting a lot of injuries on defense, and that could, I know that how explosive their offense is, but it's all about health at the end of the year. Oh, and everybody knows
that's true.
Playoffs.
I was just going to say that's not a hot take there, Carlos. You know,
Yeah, Carlos. That's a given. But the thing is at the end of the year, you got to be healthy.
Yes,
So
you do.
not
And
only
I know that. I know that, Rick. We're going to get to the Giants. All right, I'm not scared to talk about.
No, he said the Saints.
Oh my God! Please.
Yes, yes.
Please.
Anyway, let's talk.
No.
Keith is not here this week, but I want to talk a little bit not about the Patriots who did lose, and I think everybody expected them to lose. I want to talk about Patrick Mahomes finally putting the blame where it belonged, not the media, not the refs. He's putting them right in the wide receiver's lap when they're not catching balls that are really easily thrown to them, and that I could probably catch on a football field at my age, as long as they didn't hit me. But you look at Kadarius Toney. The Giants drafted him high. We had our problems with him. He doesn't work hard. He gets injured a lot. He's a me guy without doing anything, if you know what I mean. I mean, he hasn't really done nothing but a great punt return one time, and that's his resume.
He helped him win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, if it wasn't him, I think it would have been somebody else, Jim, to be honest with you. I mean, the dude has a little bit of talent, but you got to work hard. You got to be able to catch a football if you're playing wide receiver. And, if not, put him at running back. I don't know why they didn't put him at running back. He can run with the ball really well. He probably would have been a decent replacement for Pacheco while he was out. But, right now, Patrick Mahomes is finally coming. Even Kelsey dropped a pass in the end zone. Yeah. So it seems like it's almost like a disease they got going over there right now, where you're only good as a quarterback as your team, as you know, Jim. The biggest player, heavily dependent position on the field. If they don't block, you can't throw. If they don't run, they're going to pressure you. If the wide receivers don't catch the ball, it don't matter how great you are. So what's the answer over there in Kansas City? I mean, if they can't catch the ball and their offense is struggling, they're not gonna get out of the playoffs this year.
You have to have accountability, and that starts with Mahomes. Maybe it's an extra throwing period in practice. Go up there and utilize those receivers. Say, hey, we're going to stay out and make sure we're catching the ball. And maybe it is not the receivers. And I'm not saying this from I know it all, but the receiving coach has to have some responsibilities too, because that's his job on the line. And he has to make sure that these kids are doing the right thing. And if they keep dropping the ball, those guys are not going to be gone. That receiving coach, whoever is their wide receiver coach, is the one they're going to get rid of.
Yeah.
And maybe.
I mean, I remember. Go ahead, Jim.
No, all I was going to say is maybe they miss Bieniemy more than anybody's ever let on. Maybe he was that guy because he is rough on them and he's tough on them. And maybe they need a guy to put a foot on their, throat.
Yeah.
Well, the Chiefs just signed Anthony Miller and Isaiah Gathings a few hours ago today. So that's going to be super helpful going into week 16.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of pass catchers.
They need somebody that can definitely catch the ball over there. I was thinking you say that Bieniemy. I think Bieniemy is the one that helped lay in the offensive plan. I don't know if he was there to help the wide receivers or not. I think you're right talking about the wide receiver coach.
But he made him accountable because of his personality. Okay. And there are coaches like that who they're going to get in your face. They're not going to just let you get away with anything.
Yeah. Well, I thought Andy Reid would do that too, Andy Reid, but maybe he's not that type of coach I thought he was because, he is a player's coach. You see him; he defends his players all the time in the media. Yes. And I guess in the media, you've got to defend your players, but behind closed doors, pull that with Belichick or may that be the answer for Jimmy Johnson or Bill Parcells. They wouldn't hear you. You'd probably be gone. You know,
you got to understand, coaches are unique. There are coaches, if they have, like Jimmy used to say, my guys, this is like heaven. And then he would always say, if you're not one of my guys, then I'm looking to get rid of you as soon as I can. And that's a lot of coaches are like that. They got their favorites because they know those favorites are going to do what is asked of them. But they also know that they might need a guy they really don't like. But as soon as they can replace him, they're going to replace him.
Did you guys hear the drama around about that game? Typical New England fashion. Reports are coming out of New England that the balls were improperly inflated. Did you guys know about that?
No.
Yeah, it's like breaking news. They said that several officials, they're like basically investigating it, that the game balls were not properly inflated for the kickers.
I'm kind of shocked Belichick and the Patriots would do that.
Again, right?
Listen, you try every advantage you can. You know that, Jim. Byron Williams mentioned something on the show, on our show anyway, the former wide receiver, NFL wide receiver in Canada, and he also played in NFL Europe. Bill Parcells actually sent him to a place to show him how to concentrate on catching the ball. Byron could run like the wind, but he had a problem dropping the football. And after he went to this, they called it a concentration camp. Where he went to, of course, the meaning is not a good meaning today, but back then it was just a place where you went to learn to catch the ball before you run with it. And that's what I saw. I saw a lot of receivers running with the ball before they actually secured the ball. And that was a big problem against Sunday for the Chiefs.
Well, you make a good point, because you look at the Rams, they're getting better. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs, but they got two receivers. If you put them in a footwork race with some of these receivers, they'd never win. But if you got it, just like you said, a receiving contest, they're going to win those contests because they can focus and concentrate on the skills that are needed to be successful.
Yeah, I would think so. So let's give Carolina their due here, and then we'll get to Buffalo. Carolina got their win. And I was impressed with the coach. He came on afterwards and he praised Bryce Young for making a throw in the rain that was caught. So, I mean, that was the highlight of the game. They were really, I was really proud of Bryce Young for that game. I don't want to take nothing away from the kid. I mean, he did lead them on a drive that kicked the field goal. So they ended up winning, I think it was 9-8 or 9-7 or something like that. Really exciting game, Sonia. I don't know if you sat through the whole game. I did not.
I did.
But
It was 9-7.
Okay. Yeah, 9-7. But real quick, it was some interesting things. And Sonia had mentioned the weather, and he was playing the game toward the weather. He would do things. If he was going in the wind, he'd run it a certain way. But when he was with the wind, he tried different things. And I'm really disappointed in Atlanta, because that shouldn't have happened regardless. They got supposedly the best running back in the draft, and he can't run the ball. He can't make plays.
I don't understand. I don't understand a lot of coaches, Jim, the Eagles, Atlanta. A lot of these teams got great running games. I mean, they got the offensive line that can open the holes. They've got, the running backs that are really talented, strong, fast, and they stop running the ball. And I don't get it. I don't know whether they are a new school kind of coach or whatever. I don't get it. If you can run the ball.
And that happens in college too. And what's happening is all Brady did against the Cowboys is run the same play 49 times. Cowboys couldn't stop it. They can't stop it. Keep doing it. But a lot of coaches won't do that. They gotta have the paper talking about how these guys are geniuses. They can throw it for 1,000 yards. Run the ball. Make them stop you.
Of course. Even at the high school level, Jim, right? I mean, I knew that if you can't stop that play, you're eventually going to do something out of an ordinary to stop it. Now Dallas didn't do that, and we're going to get to that. I mean,
That's
not,
true.
we're going to get to that. But and then when they adjust, then you go somewhere else, and then you pound that, or you throw the
Force
ball.
them to do something else. Don't let them keep
Right.
doing the same thing to you. What Dallas's problem is that they have undersized. Like I said, they're playing with safeties and linebackers, and they need to get some real linebackers if somebody tries that against them. And Carlos is old offense.
I was going to say that. I mean, the whole fourth quarter, they had that 207-pound safety playing middle linebacker, Jim.
You're right.
And you got middle linebacker. Why is he there? Put him on the outside or something.
Exactly.
I mean, you got a 350-pound guy pulling coming right at you. It's no contest. I didn't get that whole defensive setup, and you're supposed to have one of the best defensive coaches in the league. What is he doing?
And I'm gonna tell you something. When people run on you, that is the most depressing thing. I'll never forget Barry Sanders, and I obviously he's a Hall of Famer, but he ran 272 yards. That was the worst day of my life. I mean, because we were trying to shoot. We were trying to tackle a greased pig. We couldn't get a hold of him.
Well, I know Eric. I know that O.J. Anderson and Campbell had pretty good games against y'all too, and they were kind of a little bit more punishing than Barry Sanders was. But I mean, listen, if it doesn't, I agree 100%. If they can't stop it, I don't know why you would want to try something else. Why be cute? Offensive coordinators, for some reason, I've said this before to Jim, Sonia, they're like mad scientists. They come up with these weird plays in the basement, at 2 a.m. while there's, the bubble thing is going by the Bunsen burner, and they come up with this double reverse pass. It's ridiculous. Just basic football will always.
It's just like Andy Reid last year when he did the ring around the Rosie or whatever. Remember he did that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on, Andy.
They're using AI a little bit more now, though, and I think that's the reason why, to kind of remove the human error away from it. But you still need the human touch. Let's be clear for everything. But they're using AI a little bit more to try to forecast some of the previous plays to try to cut down on those, for lack of a better word, like really goofy mistakes.
Yeah, you're right, but still. It's still.
I noticed y'all skip right on back out of the Panthers.
Oh, excuse me.
I didn't even get a chance to talk about them, and I was ready.
We're gonna let you talk about Carolina.
Go ahead. The floor is yours, Magic.
Okay, you got 10 seconds.
On my own show, but not here. I got you.
Go ahead, Sonia. We'll give you. We'll give you.
Be quiet.
No. So I just wanted to tell you guys that Falcon fans, of course, it's kind of like a gift and a curse with me living here in Atlanta, because I get a chance to interact with true fans right here and get like real reactions, as well as the online reactions and things like that I see, and then having like the All Things Football from a Ladies Perspective fan club that kind of follows all the news. Fans are like basically saying they want Arthur Smith out. They're saying that like this is one of the worst losses they had, especially from a 1-12 team at the time with Carolina. They talked about other games that they had lost with the Vikings and the Cardinals and all of these other games that, they supposedly had an opportunity. And it's not good when Arthur Blank is always kind of on the sideline. That's usually like an indicator that something's about to go down. I don't know if you all remember back during the pandemic, I think it was 2020, 2021, when he came down on the sideline, it was like the writing was on the wall that Dan Quinn was about to be exited, like literally right there. And it happened like right after the game. But this offensive line from the Falcons is horrible. Bryce did use the weather to his advantage.
Yes.
The Falcons have a stadium that they don't open the roof if it's a bird flying over. They're going to keep it closed. And so for that reason alone, we play in the trenches in Carolina. We have an older stadium. It needs a lot of repairs. It also needs a roof, especially for the fans, because it's just like that. Like they've had the same stadium since the franchise started. And it was a sloppy, messy fest, but hey, they got it done, especially when Desmond Ridder gave us our Christmas gifts early. We knew he'd do it. It never fails. He gifted us when we were here in Atlanta, and we didn't capitalize on the gift, but this time we capitalized. And it was just one of those things. And I mean, it rained torrentially down there, y'all. It wasn't just mist. It was like baptism type rain down there. People were giving their life to the Lord. And so
what people?
And
I saw
You didn't know that?
all 10 people ran for get under the roof.
What's really bad is I'm a PSL owner, and I was trying to like move the price down because we talked about the pricing of the game on the show Sunday when we all had the Sunday morning big football show that we all are here and we absolutely have a great time. Me, Max, Pags, Jim, and then we have a couple of people to come in and out of the show. But we talked about like they were selling tickets for like a cup of coffee, and they had done the same thing in New Orleans. Well, these folks really wanted to see it. I mean, they had on ponchos, basically out there in riverboats, literally floating to see this game. But I had some friends that had gone up there, and I was like, hey, do you guys want a ticket? I could just give you mine. And I honestly think, y'all, that they just opened the doors up and let anybody on the streets just come in, because next thing I know, he was messaging like, hey, we here, girl, and we're in the clubhouse. And I'm like, what? I didn't have no tickets. They literally just opened the doors up to the streets of anybody in Charlotte to come in. And I'm like, that's so sad, because I just don't think I've ever seen our organization this bad. Like, we had a season that we were like 2-12 back in like 2010, 2009, before Cam came and got started and everything. But this is like bad. But when you get that one win, now you feel renewed, and we're going to the Super Bowl. We're going to win the rest of our games, and we're going to claim the NFC South. This is what I'm seeing, guys. And we're going to the Super Bowl. But we got that win. I do want to just say really quick that offensive line of Atlanta is horrible. Drake London did try to come alive in the fourth quarter, much to the chagrin of everybody else. But unfortunately, it was a little too late. Bijan Robinson, who I have in my fantasy, did not capitalize and actually turned the ball over at a very pivotal time. And so I lost points on that. Algier and even Kyle Pitts, all of them were doing their best, but it was way too late. And Atlanta has a lot of weapons that they have just not used. And I think that all goes down to the quarterback. And so they've already said they're benching Ritter again. They're getting rid of Ritter. And Taylor Heineke, former Carolina Panther, former Washington Commander, will be at the helm on Christmas Eve at their next game. And so I don't think he's the answer. He's not the franchise, the face of that organization. They held on to Matt Ryan an extensive amount of time beyond what they should have. And this is just a trajectory that Atlanta has. They just kind of have that loyalty to this one person, and it just costs. So we get to win 9-7. Yay, Panthers! And I got on my shirt.
All right. So the only thing I heard in that whole spiel you just did is that you did not mention Jack on the Sunday Big Football Show, and I don't think Jack's going to be happy with you come Sunday, Sonia. That's the only thing
I missed him.
He did
Jack,
miss.
yeah, you missed Jack.
No,
So
that's true. And I'm going to tell him.
I said Mac and Jack. I said Mac. I said it so fast it sounded the same.
Dennis Holmes, hey, Mike Eckel with the Man Cave. Glad to have you in tonight, Mike.
Hey, Mike, how are you doing?
Hey, Mike, what's up?
We got a lot of people. He'll be with us on the Sunday Big Football Show. Let you know he's a really fun guy. Got a fun show over there. So anyway, we talked about the Patriots, of course. They're with the Giants and the Jets up here, and they're all playing pretty badly. The Giants got their tail handed to them. But let's stay with Buffalo, because we're going to let you talk about a team that you played on that actually won Sunday and played a good game. Unfortunately, it was
Sunday.
Well, unfortunately, you represent the Dallas Cowboys more than you do the Bills.
I represent both teams.
Yes, you do. So,
but you're right. You got to give Buffalo credit, because Josh, which is interesting, they gave the game ball to Josh Allen and not James Cook. I don't understand. He was player of the week. I thought that was a mistake. But Josh Allen really didn't have that big of an impact. James Cook took him to the old woodshed. And when you know what happens behind the woodshed, you get a spanking. And that's what happened.
whooping.
I mean, did he look
There
like
you
Thurman
go.
Thomas? Did he look like Thurman Thomas to you, or is it just me? I mean,
he didn't look like
catching the ball.
he knew
hopping
where
in
his
the
helmet
hole.
was.
Oh
He knew
my
it was
God! For one game, he looked like Thurman.
No, he
Thomas.
didn't
I mean,
look like.
let's.
He
Oh
never had
God!
issues with Thurman Thomas.
I watched him, Jim. I watched him more than you did. How's that? I know he looked just like him.
He didn't look
He's
like
a little
no
bit
Thurman Thomas.
smaller. He's a little power pack. He's quick in the hole. He's got
He
good
didn't look
hands.
like Thurman
He
Thomas.
made the Dallas defense
One
look terrible.
game doesn't make
What
you.
we're gonna do? I
Yeah.
said, what did I say? He looks like him all year. I'm talking about against the Cowboys. He looked
No,
like
but he
Thurman
did play
Thomas.
well. You got to give him credit. I thought their offensive line played extremely well. We talk about
Yes.
offensive line, and they just, basically they big boyed them.
Yes, they did, and the defense of Buffalo was all over Dak that game. That's what surprised me, Jim. They keep losing players, but they keep playing just as good, if not better, every week. That's a great
Exactly.
defensive coaching job over there on Buffalo.
And
And
Sean
Buffalo's
McDermott is
very-
he's calling the plays, but they did. But also, Dallas couldn't take advantage. Dallas is what I remember I told you. They're throwing 5-yard passes, and on bad weather days, that doesn't work. They need to
No.
be able to run the ball effectively.
Agree, and they do need that big back. I listen. It's okay to have that quick back breaks it, but you got to have a guy that can pound you. And right now, Dallas hasn't had that. So
And they got
great.
They got a decent offense. Zach Martin went down with obviously the quad injury.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
They have a decent offensive line, so
They have a very good offensive line, Jim. They just got
But
manhandled.
What I have is now people are saying Dak is terrible, and it's always on Dak, but the defense lost that game.
Yes.
They have the highest scoring offense. And now, when they came in to this game, they were outscoring their opponents at home by a margin of 279 to 108. But now they've been outscored 156 to 152 on the road. So, yeah.
You're right. You're right. And Carlos makes it.
So
when they go to another stadium, they play the other team's game.
Well, they're going down to Miami. They better not play Miami's game. It's a tough place to play down there in Florida. And I mean, Dallas has got to get to Tua. If they don't get to Tua, Dallas is not going to win that game. To me, that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing, right?
You're right there. And their whole offensive line didn't practice today for Miami. And Tyreek Hill didn't practice either. But they think Tyreek has a chance to play this week. So.
Well, I heard they didn't need practice to beat the Dallas Cowboys, Jim. That's why they didn't play.
That's my point.
Roll.
Putting in a practice squad.
Exactly. So,
boy, why are people so happy when Dallas loses? Philadelphia lost.
We're so tired. We're so tired of seeing them win. We're so tired of seeing them win. I mean, that's what
your fan base.
I can't help it if we're cute.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But can you win? Have you won a Super Bowl? They haven't won one, I think, since you left, Jim.
Yes, they did. They won
like
one.
No one under my age has seen them. And let me tell you, the last Super Bowl that the Cowboys had is on VHS.
Yes, that's true. That is
That's
true.
not true.
That is true.
We've already gone through.
They put it on.
We don't even use it. Now we're streaming. You've gone through 2 different lifetimes. We're now streaming.
And not only
we
that,
don't have anything on the document.
And not only that, Sonia,
and
not only that,
South Carolina won a Super Bowl.
Actually, you guys haven't won since we started. We're 30 now. We're 30 years old.
I didn't ask you that. When have they won a Super Bowl?
They've won one.
Now the Giants are different.
Now they
Eli
are one.
Manning, who leads the league in interceptions.
Well, listen, we've won a Super Bowl every decade. We will not stop that. We will win another Super Bowl this decade. Listen, I saw the last Dallas Cowboy game on VHS, as you say, so it was in black and white. Just to let you all know. So
I have it on digital.
Right there, you go.
It probably was reprocessed on digital. That's why. He took it to like CBS or something and got it pressed down.
Right. In fact, I
Wow.
think John Madden had just stopped coaching when they won their last
Wow.
one.
John was playing. What are you talking about? He was on the field.
Wow.
So
I can't
so
believe this.
anyway, let's talk about the Giants. The Giants got destroyed by the Saints defense. They just ran
Oh,
through the
yeah.
offensive line where they went there.
God.
The story, I was hoping the story of Danny DeVito was done, but it's not. He's going to the pizzeria. His agent
Danny
is
Cutlet now.
trying to charge double for the spot, and they
Yeah.
said no. And DeVito, I guess, went there and did it for nothing. So I think
true.
he got rid of that leprechaun looking agent he had there. He's gone.
No, he
From
was
that.
sitting there with the family.
Yeah, well, I think he's not his agent anymore. Is what I'm trying to say. So
Oh, okay.
the Giants still have this slim chance that you can't
They
see.
could either be
And,
in the playoffs or they could have the second pick in the draft.
right. So they might get both this year, Jim. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But the
Carolina
thing-
has
the-
the first pick, but they don't have a pick. Chicago does.
right. They gave it away.
Right.
So
Okay. And
I mean-
and next year too. We are aware. Thank you.
right.
I just was making sure you were
So
aware.
Jim, you know you've been on teams when it starts rolling bad, right? It's like a snowball. It just keeps
It
rolling
really
and
is.
rolling. And they're going to play a Giants defense when they show up. I don't think they had a bad game against the Saints. I think the Saints defense just got the offense in great field position and they just kicked the Giants' butt. Their defense is very good. And if they can play the Eagles straight up and stay with them into the fourth quarter, as much as everybody would want to laugh as possible, they have a chance at beating a team
That's
that
right.
really doesn't know what its offense is anymore in the fourth quarter.
Well, the thing is, Saquon Barkley, he's going to have a tremendous game for them to even have a chance. And then your young receivers are going to have to play at a high level, which is going to be tough because the Eagles are still one of the best teams in the NFL. Don't get it. Hey, don't
Right.
think Jalen Hurts, he was sick last week. I'm not making excuses, but you're right,
No,
Rick.
no.
But,
Well, wait a minute, Jim. I
But-
can't let this slide. Jim, I can't let this slide. The Giants have won 4 more Super Bowls than the Minnesota Vikings. They also last year beat the Minnesota Vikings in the playoffs. So, Rick, if you're going to run your mouth over here on the program, get ready to get it right back thrown at you. Okay? So go ahead, Jim.
you hit a soft point. Oh man. But I think anybody has a chance any given Sunday because they are professionals, and it's just like the Titans. Who would have imagined the Titans beating the Dolphins or Carolina?
Right.
Really, I thought Carolina had a chance. Sonya did make some good points last Sunday about the weather, but the Titans beating Miami, and there wasn't any weather, anything.
It literally was raining the entire East Coast. It felt like every game I
Wow.
was watching,
Yeah,
it
that's
was
true.
raining. I was like, wow, like the entire Eastern Seaboard was like getting drenched. And I think even was it Green Bay or somewhere over like the Midwest?
It was raining in Seattle with the
Yes,
Eagles.
everywhere.
You're right.
Well, that's part of the game. You got to learn to play in the rain. That's
Oh, I loved playing in the rain because you know why? Because I have big feet, so I could really grip with those big feet.
all right. Well, I hated the rain. I loved playing in the snow. I loved playing in the snow. That was.
Yeah, and another reason is when I was in high school, we won a lot of playoff games, and we had to play obviously in bad weather to win championships.
Right. And you know, Rick, Minnesota has not won a Super Bowl, Rick. They're one of the few teams that have not won. I love Fran Tarkenton when he was with the Giants, and then he took his butt. And he went to Minnesota, and they lost 4 times, Rick. We won 4, they lost 4. In fact, we were at 5 Super Bowls, Rick. So anyway, Rick, why are you want to give me one?
My goodness.
Anyway, so let's talk
Oh,
about the
man.
Jets. For some reason, CJ didn't make it in, and of course, CJ is going to blame Zach Wilson again. That's why they lost the game. And I am so tired of hearing about Zach Wilson. But let me ask you something, Jim, and Sonia, I need your opinion on this too. All right, Aaron Rodgers comes to the Jets. They bring over Hackett. They bring over Lazar. They bring over Cobb. I don't know who they brought a lot of people with them. The Jets sent the first round draft choice to Green Bay. They're going to be paying Rodgers a lot of money, and he hasn't played yet. And we don't know what he's going to be like when he does play. They gave total power to a quarterback, a very good quarterback. This has never been done before. I mean, Brady brought people with him, but not like this. Everything was hinged on Aaron Rodgers. I hope the Jets and I hope every owner out there learns from this. You do not give all this power to one person and expect your team to be in good shape. And I really believe that this is going to go down. If Rodgers doesn't bring them to the Super Bowl, to the worst move ever in the history of football, Jim.
See, I disagree. If that court, Tom Brady going to Tampa, and he brought Gronk with him, and they say Tom was the missing piece, but Gronk was because he made.
And he went and got Antonio Brown too.
Antonio Brown, and he brought the right people with him. I don't think it was Aaron Rodgers. They didn't anticipate Aaron Rodgers getting hurt. And I think that's what happened. And nobody anticipates that. I think what they're going to do is run it back next year. Salah will be there. Hackett will be there. Douglas will be there. And they're going to run it back and see where they can go. Because after the Miami game, Rodgers said, shoot, I'm not going behind that offensive line. You're going to have to fix this thing. I think my Achilles is not 100%. So I'll go to practice, but that'll help him, though. That'll help him prepare.
From what I read today, he's good. He wants to play, Jim. He wants to go out there and play. I don't blame him. You know, he's kind of let the team down. I still think, I'm paying him. I still think that this was a wrong move, Sonia. I mean, they could have got Derek Carr. There's a lot of quarterbers out there that they could have got.
Come on,
they
man.
could have. They would only be stuck for 1 year, Jim, and they would have owed $200 million. And they could have went out and they could have got a really good backup too, and they didn't do that either because they expected Aaron Rodgers to play, Zach Wilson to be the backup, to learn underneath him, and both of those things didn't happen. And I still think when you give a player that much power, the GM really messed this up. That's what I think. What do you think?
I definitely believe that. I watched some episodes of Hard Knocks, and it was almost like from the time that they realized he was being signed, it was the Aaron Rodgers show. It was no longer the New York Jets. In fact, it just came out today that he will not take the field. Aaron will not take the field. He went on the Pat McAfee show. We've seen him on and off there for off and on. Pat is one of his big fans. Had him on there right after the surgery from his hospital bed and everything. Well, he tells Pat today he's not where he wants to be. He would have tried to play Sunday had the Jets made a playoff contention, but with them being beat 30-0 this last game, they're now out for the 13th season straight. And there's been rumblings that while Aaron's going to remain with the team, he will not play again this year. But they do want to, yes, they do. Right. He is clear to practice. But on top of that, just like Tom Brady came and was allowed to control the narrative with who he brought with bringing Gronk and brought Gronk out of retirement. It actually came out later that Gronk retired just because he did not want to stay with the team without Tom. And it was kind of already in the plans that Tom would bring him on board when he got with Tampa. And so it's the same narrative. Now the Jets are going to be pursuing Devontae Adams again so that they could try to reunite him with Aaron Rodgers. But the whole thing is Aaron was physically pushing himself from this Achilles injury. We knew he probably wouldn't make it, especially with him being 40 years old. And we've never seen this in the league where someone comes back from that type of injury this late in the season. I mean, he's probably like 80, 85 days since this injury. Not a lot of time at all. They definitely didn't bank on him being hurt the first possession that they had the ball. I literally remember watching it and rewinding it like, did this just really happen? They have hyped this guy up on Hard Knocks. You can still watch those episodes. And it literally was like Sauce Gardner. All these players were coming up like, hey, yeah, we thought it was going to be this because we were on Hard Knocks, but now, hey, we got you here. And even the host of Hard Knocks came in because it was the Aaron Rodgers show. So I think, like Max says, they could have gotten a lower caliber quarterback and worked their way with what they had rather than pay all these millions of dollars out. And to be honest, guys, they're still not certain what Aaron will look like once he comes back from this injury. we may not get the Aaron Rodgers ever again that we had
And that
prior
is
to
true.
this injury.
But you cannot hit home runs unless you swing for the fence. And they
But
tried
you
to
And
do
they
it.
swung, and he got hit with the bat.
But you can play small ball and win a World Series, as the Texas Rangers showed
No,
everybody.
Texas Rangers
And the
have
Arizona-
big hitters.
And the Arizona Diamondbacks beat the long ball hitters, the Dodgers. So there's more than one way to win the football.
And that is true. But the Texans, don't get on that, Mac. They had
Well,
Simeon.
They had
Yeah,
a nice mixture. They got on base a lot too, Jim. So I mean,
Yeah.
they drove in runs because a lot of people got on bases. But enough with the analogies. We got a great week coming up, folks. A few big games coming up. Of course, we got Dallas and Miami, and the Eagles. I think they're playing, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it what's that? The Giants, which I think is going to be a better game than people think. And we also got Baltimore against San Francisco.
Monday Night
It's
Football.
going to be a great game.
Who's
Maybe the
Carolina
preview.
playing this week?
We're
I
playing
think-
Green Bay. Thank you, Jim. Thank
Oh,
you. We're playing Green Bay.
Excuse me.
And and guess what? It's in Charlotte again. So
Oh, excuse me.
we might win again. It's in Charlotte.
So anyway, Carolina will I don't know, maybe they win another game. Who knows? We can
Maybe.
root for them.
I'm not going to say anything on this show because I already got it.
We'll talk about we'll
I'm
talk about it a
sorry.
lot
Let me
again later. So anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the views, all the comments.
Yeah, you're
Love
right.
having you on the Northeast Professional Sports Show. Stay tuned. After this, we get the NFC East Show on Roku, followed by J&B Talking Shop with Jim and Byron will be on YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. And of course, then we got Sonia coming up with all things football from a lady's perspective. It's a long title, Sonia. You got to shorten it a little bit so we can say it without having to stop
All
in the
things
middle of the
sports.
show. Yes. So anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you Friday on the Mac and Jack Sports Show. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in.